Hi, welcome to another Project Warhammer and nearing completion, I hope. I've got almost 2,000 points of Nighthaunt. All I have left to do, 4 models, hero models, 2 of them fairly intricate, even by my lazy standards may take a little while, but may possibly, I've got a lot on, but may possibly be done this weekend, which means I may then be in a position to be able to go, oh, let's try and find someone to play a game with. Exciting times. But the burning issue was always, and I'd said a few weeks ago I think I'd solved this, and I have indeed, but the burning issue was always going to be transportation. Now, I mean, take a look at one of these. This is the Bladegas Revenant, which is the next sort of thing. Because even though I've got close to a 2,000 point army ready and I could use it, it's not quite the 2,000 point army I want. Because, you know, as I've been doing it and reading it and thinking about it, I've been fine-tuning the sort of army I think that I would want. And of course, after I play a few games, I may change my mind again. But I sort of want these guys into it. But the problem with Nighthaunt in general, and, well, Nighthaunt specifically, I suppose, but quite a lot of modern, you know, Games Workshop models in general, is they're very intricate, they're pretty awkward models, and they can be quite fragile. Now, this isn't, I think these are actually okay, but it does exhibit one little problem that's common to a lot of them, which is a very small point of contact with the base, which is important later on. Now, these models I could actually see, you know, this one's a bit more awkward, but I could sort of see myself carrying these in my normal case, which I've still got from years ago, maybe making some specific foam inserts, cutting extra bits into them just for them, but that's okay. Foam inserts themselves aren't that expensive. And carrying those around, and that would be okay. I'd be okay with that. But there are some models where I wouldn't be at all okay with it. They've got such slender parts. The Grimgas Reapers would be one of them. Some of the Chain Rasp Horde models. There's a few models that would be very, very difficult to do that with. And it would have been okay in the days of metal models, but with plastic it can be quite fragile. And then you've got something like the Black Coach. It's not the best picture there, but that's just so awkward. I'm thinking, well, how can I carry something like this? It's huge, it's unwieldy, and it's plastic. And again, I don't want it to be in a situation where there's going to be load on it and something breaks off. So there's 2 ways, basically, of transporting models like this. One is to pack it in something that will cushion it. And that is what has seemed to me to be unnecessarily difficult. Or you fix the bases down, in other words, use magnets. And I thought, you know, that the magnets thing would have been difficult, but then I came across the company Battle Foam doing these Magna Rack things. So what I'm going to do is, I've got one of these cases. I've had it for a little while. I only really tried it recently out because I didn't need to until I was going to get imminent. There was no point. I was fairly happy it was going to work, but I've given it a little go in the past couple of days. I actually was going to show you me using it for the first time, very genuinely for the first time, but there were technical issues with the recording of it. So I've had to do it again tonight. So I'll show you that first, and then I want to talk about some of the pros and cons of it. So this is the backpack. As you can see, it's a rucksack, really. There's no carry handle on the top, which worried me a little bit, but if I open it out, we can see that the models are all fairly safe and sound in there. So I say fairly, they are safe and sound in there. I haven't got a light to shine in there. But what we can also see, main problem at the moment is I've managed to get the taller models at the bottom. If I use up all the frames, then we end up with a situation where increasingly gets smaller as you go to the top. Now, a lot of my models, these taller ones, are not going to do that, but we've got the capability to customize this. So this is the frame that comes inside it. When it's taken out, it fits very snugly into the bag itself, as you want it quite tight, but you can also assemble it in different configurations. So I'm just going to disassemble it now and show you some of that. So effectively what you have is a series of these struts and several boards. Now I just want to show you sort of the effectiveness of these boards. So the black coach, for example, this was the main thing, like I was saying, that I was very worried about, but you know, no problem at all. Obviously the first time I did that, I was very tentative with doing it. The biggest problem in actual fact, when it comes down to it, is getting it off it as well. You're certainly going to need 2 hands for this. Now, models that I was particularly worried about were the so-called special push fit ones with the scenic bases, which unfortunately are not quite like, you know, the good ones. It's really easy to see because we have the magnet in there. It's always going to be plush with the standard bases, but with the special scenic ones, sometimes you're lucky enough you can get it to be a bit plush. I mean, of course you could use putty green stuff. That's the sort of thing I'd want to use. I'm trying to find one, but I haven't used that on any of these. I'm just trying to find one where it's quite bad. I'm pretty sure there's some of them. I mean, this one doesn't fit ideally on mine, but it's really strong on this. I mean, you know, so even when I've got a relatively weak interaction on my magnetic boards there, oh, this one feels really weak, but you know, it's holding those really strongly. The biggest problem is it's easy on a board like this when you've actually got it in the bag. Actually, I can imagine taking out the models when you get to where you're going to be playing the game could take a wee while. That's my only concern there, really. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make this up into a configuration that should hopefully fit more of my models. So what I've done is I've effectively taken a shelf out. All the struts have still been used. I've just created a larger one at the top. So what I'm going to see is if 3 shelves is enough for what is virtually my 2,000 point Nighthaunt army now. So we've got the army in. The only thing that's missing in this 2,000 point army are 4 characters for whom there's plenty of room by the black coach at the bottom, if you can see that there. So you can see here I took a photo with the flash so you can actually see inside there, and everything's, you know, in there, and as you can see there's room around the black coach where the remaining models, which are 2 Spirit Torments, which could actually fit on one of the other racks there, Lady Alinda and Raikonor the Grimhailer, they'd be able to fit in there. So I can carry my 2,000 points army. So in terms of pros and cons, first of all, this thing is a rucksack. I was sort of hoping when I got it, it'd be like carry handle on the top, because although I was imagining this situation where I'd be sort of okay with them being on the magnets, but I'd still prefer to be able to just pick them up very carefully, place them in my car, roundabout in the centre where, you know, it's going to get the least amount of throwing around when I go round a roundabout, and then take it out of my car very carefully to where it needs to go and take everything out. But in actual fact, that's not the case. It's a rucksack. But in actual fact, I've carried it around the house and taken it out and opened it up again. I don't think I want to kick this around. Maybe I could, but I don't want to try that out. But I'll tell you what, I can treat this in the same way that I would treat a foam-packed carry case. You know, which is basically just to carry it around normally, not having to be overly worried about it, as long as I don't smash it into things or kick it about. I'm really happy with it. I've been trying it out and I've not had any issues at all. If anything, the magnet, the trays there have a really strong interaction. I was thinking, oh, if it wasn't that strong, I was thinking to myself, well, it's okay. I can just put extra magnets on the bottom of the bases. No need for that at all. No need for that at all. One magnet is super strong. In fact, potentially it's a slight downside because of, I mean, I suppose there's 2 ways to do this. In theory, you might say, well, an arrangement whereby you could slide the trays out would be way better. However, because of the customization of this, I don't think that's realistic. It would certainly require much more engineering and therefore increase the cost. And this case, I've got to be honest, is not cheap. It's very expensive. But, you know, in terms of transporting these models, I saw no other way realistically. But it's difficult to say whether I think it's worth it or not, because it was actually very expensive. But it does the job. it really does do the job. And obviously you can see there's various side pockets and things like that for storing the other things. But I'm not doing a review of it. I just want to explain how I'm transporting the models there. So when I was taking the models out, because I took them out to do, you know, if I get rid of this, to actually do this. Oh, well, I've got rid of the wrong one. I got rid of this photo was actually taken after I'd taken them all out and assembled them on the kitchen table again. And it took a while. It did take a while. So, yeah, I can really see myself, you know, taking it to where I need to go and having to then spend time taking them all out. Now, the way I'll prepare for that, of course, is I've already made the movement boards with the magnetic roll, which doesn't hold them half as strong as the thing in there, not nearly as strong, in fact. But I think the thing to do would be, as soon as you get to where you're going to go, open it up straight away, don't wait about, take them out and put them on your movement boards, and then use that, thinking about tournaments especially, and use that then to move around. Because the issue you have is, when you're taking them out, first of all, because, you know, there's limited space in there, there's enough. Obviously, I've customized it so there's enough, but you can't, like, lift them right up, you know, smash it on top of the roof of it. So you're sort of having to lift it up a bit and slide it in. But they're so strong, you've got to have a good old grip on the bases. It's not like a metal model. A metal model, it'd be quite... Or some of these models you can do this with, if they're sturdy enough. All you do, of course, physicist, you use moments. You actually just knock them, not smack them, but you knock them at the top to tip them a little bit so the magnet comes away from the tray, and then you can take them out quite easily. But like I said, with a lot of these models, I mean, this is an example, but there's some in there as well, the same situation. Small point of contact between the model and the base. There's not much of the model glued to the base. So you do that, you're more likely to bend the model, and then you could potentially cause some damage to it, is my fear. So you really do, for those sort of models, which is most of my Nighthaunt models, have to grip the base quite carefully, get nail under it sometimes just to lift it up and then take it off. So what I'm basically saying is, takes a while to load them in, takes even longer to unload them. So when you get there, yeah, it is a case of putting them on separate movement boards, which I've made myself, and using those to transport them around, definitely. But in terms of getting it safely to a venue, I think this is going to be the way I go. Now, the other thing is, although this comfortably holds my 2,000 point army, I can envisage other 2,000 point armies that it wouldn't hold. I totally get that. I mean, thinking about 40k, for example, some of the huge, like a Necron monolith or something like that. Of course, you can, you know, there's no limit. You can take an extra tray out and give it extra height and stuff like that. But then you're taking a tray out, aren't you? And you're limiting the amount of room you've got for then other models. So it's not going to be perfect for everything. However, you know, given that there wouldn't be need to put all the models in there, it could be a solution where you need maybe two, a smaller carry case with the foam inserts, the normal foam inserts, for the models that would be fine in the foam inserts, because some of those would be, but not a lot of them is my worry. And then the ones that really need the magnetic transport, put them in there, and maybe you've then got like two carry cases. So that would be a thing. I don't think you'd be able to put any 2,000 point army for either 40k or Warhammer in there. A Horde army particularly wouldn't go. But then frequently with Horde armies, a lot of the models are actually okay in the foam inserts. So the downsides, I would say, to this is that it was super expensive. And I think if someone was starting out and wanting something to transport it, I don't think this alone would necessarily do them. If they were really going to get into the hobby and collect lots of armies. There will be some armies for which this probably wouldn't do. Well, it's difficult to say. I mean, of course, in a Horde army, if it's largely infantry as well, you could, of course, potentially get the extra tray in there, and it would still work out. So, but anyway, I've got a way to transport them. So as soon as I've got those models painted, which are right in there, and maybe with my lazy painting, because you know, let's try and get rid of this again. It's very difficult to see, actually. I haven't done a proper model of any of them. It's probably better from there. So you can see on the middle tray, roughly on the right-hand side, the Banshees there. Behind those are the Chain Gas. So basically, I've got 8 Banshees and 4 Chain Gas. Those are the latest additions. And I painted all of them. I'm not proud of this. I sort of am. But just, you know, lazy painting. In fact, I was thinking of calling if I start doing a regular Warhammer discussion series, Lazy Painters Unite, because one thing you're never going to get from this channel is painting advice. I have no interest in that side of it. I'm all about the strategy, the planning, and the playing of the game, which I haven't actually done yet. But yeah, so I painted all of those last night, just all of them from scratch. They were undercoated, they were based on undercoated, but other than that, from scratch, painted them all. And it didn't even take me all night. I did it in a couple of stints because I did the laziest job on them. And I'm planning on doing, just because I've got a couple of tricky hero characters to do, don't think, oh, well, because these are special characters, I'm going to do a stunning job of them. You know, I'm not. I'm going to try and cut every corner I can to get them done. Not just because I want them in a hurry, because I might get them painted this weekend and then not be able to get a game next. I'm not necessarily, I might try and see if I can get a game, but I don't think I would. So I could easily spend more time and carry on painting them next week and then try and get a game next weekend, which might be more realistic. It's not because I want to rush them. It's because I don't like the painting. Sorry, I've said that before. So I just want to get them done. Then I'll have my 2,000 point army. I'm away then. I'm gone. It's, as I say, there's a couple of units I want to change out. The Glaive Wraith Stalkers and actually the Grimghast Reapers, which I sort of quite like. But then I was thinking what I really like are Bladegeist Revenants. So I could basically take the same army. If I were to take out, in actual fact, out of that 2,000 point army, what is it I'm taking out? Can't even remember. I don't think the Glaive Wraith Stalkers are in that 2,000 point army. I think I made those. I'm just thinking about it now. I made those because they were in my Age of Sigmar box set when I was just trying to get an army painted quickly. I don't think they're actually included in the 2,000 point. They shouldn't even be in there. I'm going to take them out. But I think the Chain Gas, I'm going to try them out, but I'm very likely to then say, take the Chain Gas out, take the Grimghast Reapers out, put in Bladegeist Revenants and a unit of Spirit Host and see if that works as well. But I'll try various things. I'll chop a few things, change a few things. But then after that, maybe start on the Maggotkin of Nurgle. That's an army I'm quite interested in as well. There's actually quite a lot of armies I'm interested in. And that'll take ages as well. That'll take a long time. But it doesn't matter about that. I can take my time over the next army because I have an army to play with. So anyway, thanks very much I'm for watching. If you watched this far, I probably got on a couple more of these, a couple more weeks until I'm sort of finally done. And then hopefully we can sort of move into doing other things. And then I might have another little separate, different Project Warhammer to come. But news on that potentially in a few weeks' time. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe for further content, share with other people who might also be interested, comment down below, and until next time, I'll see you later.